employees. This is what Labour Minister Santosh Lad clarified simultaneously. Now, reservation for locals in the job sector is not a new idea. In fact, in the recent past, we can actually talk about 10 state governments, including Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Uttarakhand, and also Rajasthan, which have passed or in some ways proposed a law mandating native quotas. But each time, courts have intervened and they've stalled these moves, calling them unconstitutional, something that violates the basic right of a human being of having a dignified livelihood. Now, this, of course, is a matter of quota versus merit, but also of the reality behind all the tall promises that governments make for reserving jobs for locals. Does this actually create divisions within the society? Instead, do states need to implement labor rights uniformly and not rely on something like protectionism? Or do political parties bring in such laws only to win votes? How does it affect a state's growth, prospects of the industry, and also the most conspicuous reality of our times, migration? We will try and understand some of those aspects tonight. Industry leaders have actually criticized the move very sharply. But before we go to our guests, let's look at some reactions.
So with respect to the job reservation, 50% in management and over 70% in non-management roles, what has led to the Congress government thinking about drafting this bill?
It is very obvious, Kannadigas need employment. And there was a demand of people that in a state like Karnataka, where industries come, where companies come, we should get higher percentage of employment in those companies. And that all made us to make this law. And it is quite very reasonable. 50% reservation in management seats, then 70% in non-management like Group D and other things. And I'm sure industry will also feel happy. And this is one welfare measure, a measure for Kannadigas to get employment in our own state.
आज ये मैनेजमेंट के तौर पे 50% लोगों को रिजर्वेशन देने की बात हुई है और नॉन मैनेजमेंट लेवल में 70% लोगों को काम देने की बात हुई है. सरकार ये नहीं कि हम इंडस्ट्री को बहुत ज़ोर से करना चाहते. यदि वो इस तरह का स्किल यदि अवेलेबल नहीं है, वो बाहर से भी लेके आके वो लोगों को यहाँ काम दे सकते हैं. बट जब लोकली यहाँ स्किल अवेलेबल है, उनको प्रेफरेंस करना करके सरकार की एक नया कानून लेके आने की कोशिश कर रही है.
Every citizen, every person should get a job. Unless you don't make each person productive, if you don't engage them, they tend to become antisocial, they tend to become helpless. So probably in this direction, it is a responsibility of the government to make each and every person engaged. So Karnataka is a very progressive state, lot of industries, lot of sectors are doing extremely well, and we have been a per capita income. If you look at, we are number one. And if you look at the indirect, direct taxes, it's extremely good. But there's a total disconnect, there's a governance missing. The governments have not been effective, the governments have not been performing, the governments have been inefficient.
Illegal, unconstitutional bill. It should never have been discussed in the cabinet and put in the public domain. It is not something to be proud of. Our Chief Minister is very experienced, very good person. I'm shocked how he can do it. After Deputy Chief Minister is the businessman, a politician, he is into real estate. How can he do all these things? You can't put such restrictions. What kind of policy is this? First of all, Bangalore, Karnataka has got a bad name because of high corruption. It's got a bad name because of bad infrastructure. Now you're destroying the brand. The Deputy Chief Minister will build brand Bangalore. Is it building brand Bangalore? I mean, it is shocking that somebody can even think of all this. And I don't know what they're thinking, why they're doing it. Everybody is opposing it. Kannadigas are opposing it. They want good jobs for the children. They don't want these restrictions.
Well, this has definitely set off another political storm in Karnataka with respect to the job reservation there. the 50% reservation in management roles as well as 70% in non-management roles. While in the Congress itself there are divided opinions. There one section that believes that this is definitely a good opportunity for Kannadigas here, because we are talking of several of those meritorious Kannadigas who do not get jobs. And there is another section that is looking for wider consultations, because we are talking of a place like Karnataka, a place like Bengaluru that definitely attracts a lot of companies and a lot of investments there. Will this jeopardize that aspect of it is also something that people are extremely worried about here, because in southern India we are talking of places like Karnataka as well as Telangana vying for these investments as well as industries. As far as the opposition is concerned here, well, they are quite tight-lipped because they do not want to really hurt the sentiments of Kannadigas, and at the same time have mentioned that this is political drama that is being played out by the Congress government. Also telling people that this is definitely a bill that is unnecessary, and they've also gone on to mention that they already have existing policies to look at employment here in Karnataka. While this politics aside, talking about the industry body, they haven't taken too kindly to this. Most of them have expressed concern. Most of them have termed it unconstitutional as well, including the NASSCOM there, talking about how this is definitely regressive in nature. We'll have to wait to see whether this bill would be tabled in the assembly, what would be the kind of repercussions that would be meted out as far as the state of Karnataka is concerned. All of this needs to be closely watched at this point in time.
Okay, joining us now is Rituparna Chakrabarti, Independent Director. We have Apra Kuchal, who's the ex-chairperson of Wiki Flow. We have B.S. Arun, Senior Journalist, also former Deputy Editor of Deccan Herald. We also have Priya Chetty Rajagopal, who's the founder of Multiversal Advisory LLP. Thank you all of you for joining me on this show. To you, Rituparna, first, why is this move so problematic? Everybody is basically saying that this will actually make the IT industry flee from Bengaluru, a city that has nurtured this industry, something that has become, in some ways the symbol of Indians even abroad. Why do you think that this is a move that is regressive and that will actually, in some ways not really promote the right kind of investment, image that we want of our country?
Thank you for having me on the show. I don't know why this thing keeps coming back at different times and different states, but I'll give you 5 reasons why this is absolutely uncalled for and unacceptable. First, because it's anti-India. I think you've all heard enough, and the higher courts have clearly called this out as unconstitutional. It goes against the principle of one India. It creates artificial walls. If it starts in one state, I don't know the cascading effect it will have across for the youth of the country. It's anti-growth, clearly. I mean, Karnataka per se contributes to almost 25% of the technology sector contributes to almost 25% of the state's GDP. And we do know how much this sector contributes to the overall GDP of the country. And if this particular state gets affected because of this, for not having the right to choose the right kind of talent, the right kind of skills to enable the kind of possibilities and opportunities they are striving for, I think it is clearly going to hamper the sector and the industry and country in general. It's anti-jobs, clearly, because while this attempt is being made, or the case is being made that this is because the local youth needs jobs and hence this is the best way to provide jobs. It's exactly the opposite. It's going to scare away the limited jobs that exist. And if you're making a case for the meritorious local youth, then it is going to hit them really hard. I mean, you just saw what happened. Right. The state government of Andhra Pradesh has really made out an open call for industries to move there. It's anti-innovation. Like Karnataka has been creating. I mean, we just heard what Ola did. Ola now has displaced Google Maps with Ola Maps. I mean, This is the bed of innovation. And it has been made possible because of the diversity that this particular state was able to attract. And lastly, it's completely anti-social. It's anti-social development. The kind of tension it's going to potentially create within the society between locals and migrants, I can't even think that we can't even go down that path. So there is enough and more reason not to do this kind of population and hurt the state it's not going to help the local youth because it's definitely going to take away the jobs that exist today.
Okay, Apra, throughout the course of today, we saw several reactions coming from ministers, and I felt that there was also some sense of managing the crisis when Minister Priyank Kharge came forward and he said that his government aims to safeguard jobs for Kannadigas while also, in some ways promoting investment through consultations. Is there a way of balancing both of these, addressing local sentiments? Because there is also a sentiment amongst local people that they seem to have been left out, and there is also, responsibility of the state government to create equitable opportunities. There is politics at play. What is it that IT companies or what is it that private players also need to do, to ensure that something like this doesn't come up every now and then?
See, thank you so much, first of all. And, something like this, when has to be made, it should have been done in consultation with the industry experts. The sad bit of it is that, we kind of do all this analysis and talks after such things are passed. So it should have been done, with the industry experts in mind. Yes, there could be a balancing method, but, Karnataka as a state, is a state wherein we see there are IT companies. These IT companies are, in competition globally, and they are global companies. And when you do a move like this, you do not let the merit go up, but you just let the other things take the better of, which is a very, very sad bit. Post COVID-19, as it is, it just takes few minutes. Everything is, work from home has made this structure go very, very crazy. In fact, in a recent report, the average rentals in Bangalore have gone down by 15 to 20% because the IT companies, officials are working from home. So you see that this is actually against the fabric of the entire nation. And when you talk about formulating policies like this, balance has to be thought at the first step, not after all the decisions and all the arguments have been done. And
Right.
as you all know, it is definitely, there has to be more in consultation with the industry experts. You cannot do something like this and then, the entire day, as we've seen, even on NDTV, of course, the entire day, everybody, and especially people who are civilized, educated, have criticized this entire move.
Right. Let me also go across to Priya. Priya, what do you feel about this? Because, clearly both our panelists have talked about long-term solutions. We talk about quality education, we talk about quality skilling, but, political parties are not going to think about that. What is the long-term solution when it comes to addressing local sentiment of being left out when it comes to employment?
Thank you for having me on the show. What we really need are pro-market policies. We need human skill development. We need stimulus packages for the unemployed, whether it's job guarantee or social security or skilling to hire local talent. But we also need to promote development of local industries. So this is a very utopian kind of a statement to make that this is what we need. And good to know that I think Karnataka, in terms of its bureaucracy and its political class, are already moving towards this. There's a lot of effort that has been made, but more needs to be done. I need to quickly put in perspective where we are. While certainly we want to increase our employment rate, and I think the move that the government has made is laudable in intention.
Okay.
No question. It's laudable in intention. Everyone wants to make sure that the state is at its optimized best. Kannadigas must get priority. Sometimes we're outrun and outmatched in some ways. But this is a political and social move, not an economic one. And we honestly need to match local interests and constitutional freedom. We are a democratic nation. We are not a loose federation of states. But what we need to remember is, you look at our unemployment rate, which is 2.4% against India's average of 4.2. And we today are the lowest three states. As per the ILO study, we are the lowest three states in terms of unemployment. We are ahead, we're just below Odisha, which is 0.9, and Gujarat, which is 2.3, and we are at 2.5.
Right.
So we are actually the better of the lot.
Okay,
The other thing
hold
you
on to
need
that
to
thought,
know
Priya. Let me
is-
go across
yeah.
to the TDP spokesperson, Vijay Kumar, who joins us now. Vijay Kumar, a big statement by Nara Lokesh, the General Secretary of the TDP and also a minister in your cabinet. Tell us, he is inviting the IT industry to be to come to, Andhra Pradesh, and this is in line with what CBN under 4.0 has been talking about, investments and jobs. So clearly, one state's loss is another state's opportunity. How do you see this, sir?
Been really struggling with this sort of, employment, and we are really asking all the companies to come. But for the past 5 years, the earlier government has not really made, and the same law that Karnataka has made now has also been made by the SWL Jagan Reddy's government. I think it's not 100%. I think some 75% or 80% of the jobs has to be given for the locals and all. But very honestly, that has not been practiced at all. And at the if we go to the field level, it is not practicable. And at least in the private sector, if the government insists and imposes and do all the sort of arm twisting tactics, we don't know. But at least Jagan Reddy, earlier, it was only to appease the local crowd and all. It was neither practiced nor even attempted by the government. I think the same sort of situation will be there in Karnataka.
Okay.
And yes.
Yes, sir.
And regarding the other people to come into the state, see, we were a part of Hyderabad almost for 70 years.
Right.
So Hyderabad has become a cosmopolitan, and same like our biggest city, Vizag, and we also hope Amravati to be behave of all the people. We can't work in isolation in this competitive world.
So Andhra
sort
Pradesh
of-
making very fast moves there. Because we're talking politics, let me also get in Mr. Arun here, who's been waiting for a long time. Arun, for a long time, Karnataka has mooted a plan to keep all blue-collar jobs and, for locals. But in 2016, I remember such a plan was also vetoed by the state's own law department. And I remember that they had referred to Article 14 and Article 16, which is what even the court said with respect to the Haryana policy, Haryana law. We have seen the Congress state government in Karnataka aggressively pitching hoardings in Kannada, asking companies to display names of people they employ, inferring that private companies are not really working in the interest of locals. Can you explain the politics that is, in fact, driving this? Because I also see this as an attempt by the Congress party to raise a subnational, regional pride agenda to counter the BJP's Hindutva.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. For long, Congress party had been scoring a march over both BJP as well as the regional party Janata Dal Secular on the Kannada issue. Recently, as you mentioned, the issue of Kannada, prominence to Kannada in boards, on the signages, on top of the shops and establishments had come up. The state government issued a rule. The Bangalore BPMP also issued a notice to all the shop owners, but then it was struck down by the court. Much like, the Haryana, Punjab and Haryana High Court, which recently, it was in 2022, which in 2022, again, quashed such a rule. The Haryana and Punjab High Court quashed the rule of a reservation of the Haryana government of up to 75% for those salaried people, having salaries of 30,000. This is kind of an issue where which could be struck down by the law. It has to stand the test of law. But again, I want to just mention a couple of things here. How well is Karnataka government prepared, even if it wants to introduce such a law, which I don't think will happen because of the large-scale opposition from the industry. And mind you, it's not just
So, Mr.
IT
Arun, do you
industry.
think this is just testing the waters? Is the Congress government just testing waters and, kind of gauging the sentiment, maybe just, and not really, it's not really intentional, it doesn't really intend to bring in such law? Is this just like talking and not really walking the talk?
For me, it looks like, because, going by what has happened for such causes earlier, over the last about 2 to 3 decades, and this time also, I think it won't see the light of the day, because obviously somebody will go to the court. Even if Karnataka government, Karnataka legislature passes this, somebody will go to the government, go to the court, and the court is likely to strike it down because of the precedents as it happened in Haryana and various
Absolutely.
other
The courts have
states.
actually struck down laws. Let me get closing remarks from all of you. Rituparna, some also say that laws like this will also open the door to this license permit quota Raj, because companies will look at staying competitive. At the same time, they will also be following the law. They'll be trying to get people, but at the same time, they'll be putting out wrong figures. What do you think will be the far-reaching, really bad consequences if a law like this comes into place?
Can you imagine that if a law like this comes in, the precious organizational resources shall be spent just managing this whole issue? Like, also, I found it very scary when I heard the proposition that there would be somebody from the government sitting in with the private sector companies to assess the recruitment process, do some tests and all of that. I mean, we all know who's going to bear the brunt and the cost of all of this. It's absolutely unproductive, uncalled for, creates distraction within the organizations. I mean, we live in a very, very difficult world and a very competitive world. I mean, companies in India are competing with global giants all over the world. Is this what they should be worried about?
Right.
And
very quickly, because I'm out of time, much of our migration is also intrastate. That's what 2011 data cites. And, I know that we really don't have that kind of data right now because census hasn't happened. In fact, when it comes to urban jobs, our national average of interstate migrants is just 8%. Does, reserving jobs for locals actually address a problem like migration?
Yes, absolutely. It does. It absolutely does. Also, as you know, it's absolutely as all the panelists have said, it is such a tricky situation at this point of time. What is exactly the government wanting to do? Are they just trying to test waters and the sentiments of the people?
Okay.
We are left at a position where we also do not know what is going to happen. The industry is absolutely shocked by such a behavior.
Okay. Last word from Priya. What are your closing remarks, ma'am? How should the government go about this?
Again, I'm just going to take out a statistic. When we talk about unemployment being such a big issue, the figures that we have are about 2.9 crore people have been added to the workforce in the last year. More than 68 lakhs are from Karnataka, which is just below Maharashtra's 1.2 crore. So we're actually doing well on that front. The other thing which I really worry about is it's short-sighted as it affects meritocracy, the quality of education and workforce in the long run.
Right.
Where will the armed forces and cricket teams go? And where are the surveys to say that Kannadigas are actually being discriminated against?
No, that's very important. I think the data, the lack of data is the most important thing. Thank you, all of you, for joining me on this show. If states build walls and impose restrictions that prevent job seekers from other states from accessing opportunities, citizens from poorer states will have to bear the brunt of it. Remember, workers move to other states seeking job opportunities that are relevant to their skills. If states are truly concerned about protecting workers' rights, they should also be looking at ensuring that basic labour rights are in place. That's the only way forward. Thank you for watching NDTV.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
Dear NASSCOM members, we understand your disappointment. We welcome you to expand or relocate your businesses to our IT services, AI and data center cluster at Vizag. We will offer you the best-in-class facilities, uninterrupted power, infrastructure and the most suitable skilled talent for your IT enterprise with no restrictions from the government. Andhra Pradesh is ready to welcome you. Please get in touch.
Co-power